2 a.m., he was just fixing the lights. But then the door creaked open, and a woman whispered, "Stay until it's over." Nothing would ever be the same again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like so you never miss what comes next. Leo Brandt checked his child's deep breaths while she slept, watching the monitor on his phone long past midnight. That little movement, the calm that comes with a kid's steady breathing, was his only compass. In the middle of the promises he made to his daughter, endless bills, and the worries spinning in his head, the only thing that really mattered to Leo was that Mia made it through the night peacefully. That's why the work order that came in at 1:52 a.m. wasn't just extra pay. For him, it meant medicine for his daughter, school fees waiting to be paid, and repairs for the fridge that was on its last legs. The address was way off his usual route. According to the GPS, the destination was in a quiet, walled-off area, the kind of place where stories usually hid behind wealth. Guys with hands like Leo's only got invited to places like that to fix a problem, never to actually be part of them. Still, this job was marked urgent. Generator malfunction. Lighting system down. Possible short circuit. After making sure his sleeping daughter Mia was with their high school neighbor Sophie, he grabbed his keys and headed out. As the rain hammered the windshield, his mind drifted to another time. That quiet night. The moment in the hospital when Mia first opened her eyes. The miracle after surgery. But miracles had a price. Insurance only covered part of the costs. Everything else had been paid with Leo's arms, his back, and many sleepless nights. And it still wasn't over. At 2:14 a.m., Leo pulled up in front of a huge, dazzling mansion. The gate was open. The garden lights looked like they were suffocating. Their light was shaky and uncertain. The stone walkway was wet, but spotless. Way too spotless. Everything was covered with the silence that comes with wealth. He knocked on the door. No answer. He tried again. Still silence. He was about to leave when he noticed the door was ajar. A giant wooden door, open a few inches. What if someone just forgot to close it? What if someone was inside? What if they were in trouble? Leo was the kind of guy who followed the rules. But something inside him, this time, pushed him forward instead of holding him back. He turned on the voice recorder on his phone and started recording. 2:18 a.m. I've arrived at the site. Doors open. No one is answering inside. Entering for security reasons. He stepped in slowly. The high-ceilinged hallway was silent, but not empty. It was a silence that meant something. It felt like time itself was hiding in a corner, waiting. Every wall, every chandelier, every piece of furniture. It was all made for people with hidden stories, not guys like Leo. He listened for sounds to find the electrical panel. The faint hum of electricity led him down a hallway. The lights were flickering. One of them exploded just as Leo walked under it. Glass scattered everywhere. Leo ducked out of instinct, heart pounding. "Okay, this is serious," he muttered. He opened up the panel to check. The wires were a mess. Somebody had kept the system running with cheap fixes for too long, but now it was falling apart. These wires were a fire waiting to happen. As Leo worked with his hands, he noticed something. A light coming from under a closed door at the end of the hall. But this light was different. Soft, steady, warm. He hadn't planned on checking that room. There was no reason to. But the light, just like the voice of a little girl, awakened all his instincts. He put the pliers in his pocket and walked over to the door. He knocked once. No answer. He gently pushed the door open. Time stopped. In the room stood a woman in a white nightgown, her bare feet on the carpet. Blonde hair fell over her shoulders, and her eyes spoke a kind of silence Leo had never heard. She looked tired, but not from lack of sleep. It was the kind of exhaustion that poured out of her heart and settled in her eyes. Leo took a step back. "Sorry, I was just working on the lights. I didn't mean dash." The woman raised her hand slightly. Not to stop him, not to invite him in, just to exist. And then she spoke. "Stay," she whispered, "until it's over." Standing at that doorway, Leo felt like a man's whole life could be rewritten in a single moment. Should he step inside? Or should he just finish the job and quietly leave? But the woman's voice, that one word "stay," might have sounded like a simple request, but it carried a loneliness that felt like it was screaming on the inside. Leo recognized that feeling. He'd heard the same sound in the silent shakes of his own chest on nights when Mia was in those hospital corridors. "I'm Leo," he finally said. The woman lowered her head. "Sophia, this house, this woman, this moment." Nothing was going the way Leo had planned, but something inside him whispered that sometimes The things you don't plan turn out to be the most important. Sophia walked over to a chair by the window and sat down. She was still, but her eyes were alive. Leo sat across from her. The only distance between them was filled with unspoken questions and the marks that time had left. "I'm sorry," Sophia said. "There's never usually anyone here. This is just my father's old house. It's mine now, but it doesn't really feel like it belongs to me." Leo nodded. "Sometimes we don't even recognize the places we belong. That's why we hide in silence." For a second, Sophia's eyes widened. That line hit her so deeply. It was like it was the only thing she'd wanted to hear for years. The thin bracelet on her arm jingled as her hand trembled. Then, she handed him a small box. "I opened this today," she said. "It's my father's will." Inside the box was a letter. Leo didn't read it, but it was clear Sophia had. "To inherit," she said, her voice cracking. "I have to get married within 2 days." Leo raised his eyebrows in disbelief. "That sounds like a joke." Sophia shook her head. "It's not. I'll lose this house, the company, even the name he left me, if I don't marry someone." Leo kept repeating the words in his mind. 2 days. He'd only ever heard stories like this in movies. But here, in the middle of this strange night, in a mansion with broken lights, a barefoot woman was whispering this secret to him. And the weird thing was, he didn't feel sorry for her. He didn't see her as weak. In fact, he realized just how strong Sophia was in that moment. Because even in her loneliness, she still wanted someone to stay. And that someone was Leo. "I'm just a repairman," Leo said. "Just an ordinary guy, working night shifts, trying to keep his kid's life together. I can't help you." Sophia shook her head. "I didn't ask you for anything, Leo." "Then why did you say stay?" Sophia closed her eyes, then slowly opened them. "Because when you came in, the house finally felt warm. For the first time, a human voice echoed off these walls. Because when someone knocked and actually walked inside, I didn't want to hide. I just wanted it all to stop. That moment, that loneliness." Leo's hand went to his jacket pocket. He touched the little drawing Mia had put in his bag. "I've wanted that too, sometimes. For someone to show up, not do anything, just stay," he said. "Sophia, I can stay, but only if I can be myself." Sophia gave a gentle smile. "That's all I want." The silence of the night filled the room. Outside, the storm had faded, and the wind was just a distant hum now. Leo got up and walked over to an old lamp. He checked the cord, then quietly started working. Sophia watched him. Every move he made showed a kind of confidence, a weight. Leo was fixing things. Not just wires and circuits, but something inside himself. And maybe, inside Sophia too. A few minutes later, the lamp lit up. The room filled with warm light. Sophia stared at it. "I didn't think it would ever work." Before turning off the lamp, Leo looked at her. "Some things never light up. But this, it was just waiting for someone to touch it." For a moment, neither of them spoke. It was a silence so deep, it felt like everything could be heard. In that moment, as Leo looked at Sophia, he thought of the dim night light in Mia's room, and the light inside himself. And just like that, the darkness inside both of them pulled back for the very first time. With hours still to go before morning, Leo had zoned out on the old armchair. The carpet under his feet was soft, but it felt like there were stones hidden in it. He hadn't really fallen asleep. He'd just let himself drift. Sophia stood by the window, looking outside. Their backs were turned to each other, but they shared the same silent strangers, but somehow familiar, distant yet connected by something you could almost touch. In the deepest part of the night, Leo lifted his head and heard Sophia's voice. "Have you ever thought about it?" she said. "Sometimes someone ends up somewhere by accident, but it turns out that place was always meant for them." Leo didn't answer. The sentence was real enough on its own, because right then, he felt like he belonged somewhere for the first time, and it wasn't a giant mansion, but that deep emptiness hidden in a woman's eyes. Sophia turned around and sat on the edge of the chair. "My father never listened to me," she said. "All my life I just did what he wanted. Now, even after he's gone, he's still telling me what to do." Leo looked into her eyes. There was no anger there, not even resentment, just tiredness. "If I asked you this, if you refused the inheritance, what would you have left?" Sophia took a deep breath. "One step, and maybe the word stay that I said to a man." Just then Leo's phone buzzed. Not a call, just a notification. "Sophie, Mia's running a fever, but she's sleeping now. She threw up a couple of times. I think she's getting sick." Leo jumped up. His heart clenched. My daughter, he muttered. Sophia stood up immediately. You have to go, I know. Leo nodded. Yeah, but why I came here, why we had this conversation. I won't forget it. Me neither. Leo walked to the door, but before leaving, he turned back. Sophia, if everything gets to be too much and you don't know what to do, find a light, even the smallest one, because sometimes the darkness breaks with just a little stubbornness. Sophia slowly closed the door behind him. Before it shut, there was something in Leo's eyes. Not a promise, not love, but something even more precious, the truth. By the time Leo got home, the sky was starting to lighten. Mia was still in bed. Her face was pale, but she was breathing deeply. Sophie had fallen asleep curled up on the couch. Leo sat by Mia's side and put his hand on her forehead. An involuntary smile appeared on his face. Just a little fever, he whispered to himself. But I'm here. All day, Leo stayed by Mia's side. He felt guilty. Maybe he should have stayed home one more night. But what he saw in Sophia's silence had left a mark on him. The light in her eyes, a glow refusing to go out, reminded Leo of the weight he'd been carrying for years. That evening, when Mia started to feel a bit better, she took her father's hand. Where did you go last night? Leo thought for a moment, then smiled. To fix the lights in someone's house. The lamp was broken? Yeah, but the real thing that was broken was something else. That night, Leo dug out an envelope from the boxes in the attic. An old notebook. He'd started writing in it a few weeks after Mia was born, but over time it had just been pushed aside. The pages were yellowed. On top it said, to give Mia someday. A father's journey to find his own light. Leo opened the notebook. He started to write. Last night, I accidentally walked into a woman's house. But when I got inside, I realized. Maybe that's what I was looking for all along. And maybe that woman was just waiting for someone to say, stay. He put the pen down. The light was dim. The silence was familiar. But this time, he wasn't alone. 2 days later, early in the morning, Leo found an envelope in his mailbox. The envelope was thin, but his name was written on it carefully, Leo Brandt. There was no return address, just a delicate note, in handwriting that looked like Sophia's. If you still believe in the light of something, I'll be waiting for you tonight at 7. No address underneath, but Leo knew where it was. The mansion with the door left slightly open that night was still waiting for an answer. During the day, Mia started to feel better. When Leo heard her laugh, all his tension melted away. But another kind of tension quietly settled in, one of decision. That evening, Leo stood in front of the mirror and looked at himself. He changed out of his work clothes, but didn't really change from his usual, simple self. He wasn't trying to become someone else. He just wanted to show up as himself. 5 minutes before 7, he stood at the door. He was about to ring the bell, but the door slowly opened. Sophia was standing there. This time, her feet weren't bare. She wore sneakers, comfortable clothes, her hair tied back, but her eyes still looked as tired as they had that night. Only this time, she didn't seem broken, but determined. You came, she said. You called me, Leo replied. Yes, but why did you come? Because I still saw the light. Sophia invited Leo inside. The house didn't feel like a silent monument anymore, but more like a place in transition. Some of the paintings had been taken down from the halls. The living room furniture was free of dust. But the most striking thing was the stack of legal documents on the big dining table. When Leo got closer, he saw the whole will was laid out. Some pages signed, some not. Today is the last day for my father's conditions, Sophia said. And you didn't sign? No, not yet. Leo frowned. Why not? Sophia spoke without looking away. Because every decision I've ever made in my life was for him, not for me. Today, for the first time, I want to make my own choice. But first, I have to show you something. Leo followed her. They walked out to the backyard. The sunset had painted the sky with fire. In the middle of the garden was an old, mossy bench. Sophia sat down there. In her hand was a small, round stone. My mom used to collect these stones, she said. Every time, she'd say flat stones bring peace. Then one day, she suddenly got sick. My dad never mourned her. Instead, he gave me the company responsibilities. I've kept this stone in my pocket ever since. But tonight, she slowly put the stone down in the dirt. But for the first time, I don't want to hear my mother's silence. I want to hear my own voice. Leo sat beside her. No matter what anyone says, you're not just a product of that inheritance. You carry your own light. Sophia nodded slightly. Tonight, I'll make my decision. Either I sign and have everything but stay far from myself, or I have nothing and finally choose my own life. Leo's voice was gentle. Whatever you choose, you won't be alone. They sat in silence for a while. As the sky darkened, stars began to show. Then, Sophia turned to Leo and asked, "If I end up with nothing, would you still be here?" Leo's answer was clear. "When I first came, you had nothing. But I stayed anyway, because it was never about what you had, but about who you are." That night, Sophia opened the documents again. She picked up the pen. Leo waited at a distance. He didn't interfere. He didn't push. Then Sophia put the pen down. The documents stayed unsigned. "It's over," she said. "No," Leo replied. "It's just beginning." The next morning, Sophia was sitting alone in the mansion's big living room. The documents in front of her were just pieces of paper now. The envelope with the Whitman Group logo on it felt like it belonged to someone else. It was now just a relic from a past she'd cut herself off from. But making a decision was enough to start a change. Breaking free from the chains of the past was one thing, building something new was a completely different struggle. When Leo dropped Mia off at school and came home, he found a small package waiting by his door. Only one word was written on it: "Thanks." Inside was an old music box. The melody it played wasn't familiar, but it was peaceful. Under the lid, there was another note. "Some sounds only play in the heart." Leo instinctively reached for his phone, but then stopped. He didn't want to call. He wondered if what Sophia had done was a goodbye or the start of something new. At that moment, Sophia was leaving the mansion. She hadn't called a driver. She didn't take a car. She just had a backpack, a few memories inside, a few books, and a handful of stones from her mother's collection. Her road led into the unknown, but for the first time, the direction was hers. Her first stop was an abandoned shopfront in the old city center. It was a small bookstore her father had invested in during his youth and later forgotten about. The windows were coated with years of dust, and silence echoed inside. But Sophia intended to turn that silence into an opportunity. She took out her phone and typed just 3 words. "Will you come?" She sent it to Leo. There was no address in the message. Because where to go, Leo's heart would know. Leo grabbed his repair kit. He didn't know what would happen, but the way Sophia said, "Will you come?" made it feel like he was being called not for a project, but for a life. When he found her, Sophia was cleaning the bookstore's windows. Her hair was tied back. Her face looked tired, but her eyes were bright. When she saw him, she stopped, put the sponge down, and walked over. "I didn't know you'd actually come," she said, "but I hoped you would." Leo smiled. "I didn't know why you were calling, but I needed a reason to keep walking." The bookstore was musty, but its bones were strong. High ceilings, wooden floors, worn but sturdy shelves. Leo ran his hands along the walls. The wiring was old. The ceiling lights didn't work. But to him, this place didn't just want to be fixed, it wanted to be lived in. "What do you want to do with this place?" Sophia's voice was calm. "It'll be a bookstore. But more than that, a place where quiet people can find their voice. A corner for kids, a breath of fresh air for mothers, a table for anyone who feels alone." Leo nodded. "And for you?" "For me, it's where I belong." That week, Leo worked hard. He replaced the wires, changed the lights. Sophia cleaned the shelves, collected book donations. Mia came after school and sat on the little chairs, painting books. Together, they were building something quiet but meaningful. But 3 days before the opening, unexpected news arrived. The Whitman family board hadn't accepted Sophia's decision, and they made her renunciation official and public. Reporters swarmed the door. Microphones, cameras, headlines everywhere. The woman who turned down a billion-dollar inheritance. What's the real reason? For Sophia, it could have been a disaster. In the media's eyes, she was now not just a romantic figure, but a crazy woman under a spotlight. But she didn't care. What mattered was what Leo thought. And that evening, Leo quietly handed her a flashlight. Sometimes the media lights are too bright. This one isn't for that. But this will always remind you of your own light. Sophia didn't hide her tears. Am I really cut out for this life? Leo's answer was short and clear. You built this life. So of course you are. That night, there were just 2 chairs in the shop. Leo and Sophia leaned back against the bookshelves, coffee mugs in hand, quietly greeting the future. And in that moment, the past really ended. Opening day started with an unexpectedly sunny morning. The old bookstore now carried the name Second Light. Leo had put up the sign with his own hands. Sophia had chosen the lettering, and Mia had drawn a little star on the corner. The sign was simple, but anyone who stepped inside could immediately tell this place wasn't just a bookstore. It was a space for healing, a refuge where silence wasn't pushed away and tired souls could finally breathe. The first customers came before 9. One of the shopkeepers from next door with his kids, then an elderly woman with a blanket and a knitting basket. After that, a young man Leo didn't know, who just quietly sat in a corner to read. None of them were there out of curiosity. It was as if they'd all been called there by instinct. Sophia wasn't behind the register. She moved among the people. She was shelving books, answering kids' questions, sometimes just stopping to listen to the space. She could really feel the place was alive. Every shelf, every chair was ready to hold a story. And the meaning she'd been searching for all these years was finally taking shape right here, in this place she'd built herself. Leo was at the coffee corner, helping Mia with the cookie stand. But his eyes kept searching for Sophia. Seeing her among the shelves, watching the gentle look on her face as she recommended a book to a child, erased the biggest debt inside him: loneliness. By the afternoon, they held a small celebration in the back corner of the shop. There was no cake, no balloons, just a few chairs and a cup's worth of silence. Sophia pulled out a small envelope. Leo's name was written on it. "This," she said, "isn't for the past. It's for the future." When Leo opened the envelope, there was only one line inside. "I once asked you to stay. Now it's your turn. Will you stay?" Leo's throat tightened. He didn't need a word to answer. He just stood up, walked over to her, and put the envelope in his jacket pocket, right over his heart. "I never left." No one else in the room quite understood what that moment meant. But a warmth filled the shop. A light turned on, a heart softened, something took root. Then Mia's voice cut in. "Dad, should we bring Sophia that chair from our house? She's kind of part of the family now." Sophia smiled. "Haven't I always been?" That night, after the shop closed, the doors were locked, but the light stayed on. The Second Light sign was still glowing gently outside. Inside, Leo, Sophia, and Mia set the table for 3. There was no show, no music, just the real sound of life. The clink of a fork on a plate, laughter, children's questions, simple grown-up answers. And then, Sophia stood up. "I made a decision at this table," she said. "A decision that's going to change my life forever." Leo looked up. "You've done that before." Sophia shook her head. "Yes, but this time, together." Mia turned to her dad in surprise. "Together?" Leo looked at his daughter and smiled. "Yes, real light is only complete when it's shared." Sophia put her hand over Leo's. "I inherited the first light from my father, but I found the second one with you." That night, before falling asleep, Mia drew a picture. 3 people, a bookstore, a sign above the door. Second Light feels like home. And outside, in real life, that sign really was shining. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like so you never miss what comes next. Because here, we don't just tell stories, we uncover the second light that shines in the dark.